World Schizophrenia Day, and pardon my appearance, pardon the camera quality and all that, but I'm just reading off an article today. Sorry, this camera quality is awful. But yeah, I'll just be reading off an article today. So, I wrote this article a few years ago. This is I believe 2016 when John Nash passed away. So it starts off with the untimely passing of mathematician John Nash, the movie which A Beautiful Mind was made on. I decided to write on the topic of schizophrenia. This article was actually published in a street paper, which doesn't really garner very many views, and yeah, but all the same, this disease affects roughly like 1% of the population, and while it is a debilitating illness, some people can actually live a normal life as long as they get the proper treatment. Schizophrenia, like the name literally means split brain, is actually not a disease of multiple personalities, but rather a disease of having too much dopamine in the body. And another thing that can cause too much dopamine in the body is actually marijuana, because it causes excess dopamine production in the substantia nigra. So it's characterized by a lot of behavioral problems, like for a very long time, schizophrenia was... Sorry about that. Yeah, for a long time, schizophrenia was thought to be actually just a behavior disorder, and then like over time they realized that it was actually a brain condition where, as I said, too much dopamine production. It's usually diagnosed by assessing an individual for a period of time, like the best when it's over a period of time and sort of by observation, and because it's pretty empirical. So generally, through social engagement and just regular observation throughout, like the way they are. Because the number one thing, like, and I've talked about this before, is people with schizophrenia tend to lack motivation, and I'll admit I do sometimes lack motivation, but I sort of force myself on a daily basis. And the reason why I lack motivation is because of negative symptoms, and I've talked about these negative symptoms before too. But these ones include, but are not limited to, anhedonia, which is inability to feel pleasure, like flat affect. Sometimes, I got some comments saying that apparently I sound like Elon Musk, so apparently maybe I have a bit of flat affect in my voice. So other negative symptoms may be like apathy, like excuse me, sorry. So some people say somebody's crying, like, we might just walk past the person. But I mean, generally speaking, right now I have to because of COVID, but COVID pandemic. But I mean, normally I would try to see what's wrong, except if I think there's somebody who's trying to manipulate me. So positive symptoms, they can be auditory, so that's hearing; gustatory, that's taste; olfactory, smelling; tactile, like touch; or visual, which is most one that everybody seems to associate schizophrenia with. But yeah, visual hallucinations where you see things, and I'm not gonna get into John Nash, but yeah, this generally is observed via a period of time in a hospital. I was never observed through a period of time. My word's kind of just taken by my psychiatrist, so that wasn't my case. So, like, the exact cause is why there's so much dopamine production in the substantia nigra is not known, but I do think they're still trying to figure out. But there is definitely a positive correlation between people abusing drugs and schizophrenia. Like, I mean, it's just like whether they have schizophrenia or born with schizophrenia, or not. People tend to abuse drugs, and that's why about 68% of people in a survey believe that people with schizophrenia are actually dangerous. Like, and everybody with schizophrenia has some form of autism. Now, YouTuber Elliot McGavin had talked about, he was going to get an autism test, and yes, you do have a type of autism. Like, I know I have a type of autism. I was doing very well in the nursing program, but then due to hand tremors and but also autistic like traits, the teacher said, I don't think you're a good fit for this. So when it came to the clinicals, I had to actually drop out, and I'm just currently working minimum wage. And yeah, Obviously, with schizophrenia, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have. I mentioned the anhedonia, which is the inability to feel pleasure. Like, you do not feel pleasure, and very low libido. I talked about that. Low libido. That's generally speaking with medication too. So it's very common for somebody with schizophrenia to be unemployed, suffer hyperactivity issues. Actually, about only 11% of people with schizophrenia seek employment and have competitive employment. Maintaining employment, that's very difficult actually, and I can attest to that. It can be difficult to maintain employment. Average life expectancy for a person with schizophrenia is actually 25 years less. And that has to do with a lot of people do commit suicide, and people can be successful with committing suicide. Generally speaking, the positive correlation is if you have a high IQ, you are more likely to succeed with suicide, and especially if you have schizophrenia, you may chances are you're more suicidal the higher your intelligence are, because you sort of perceive reality in the way that you wish you didn't have to perceive it. Again, the treatments are something called neuroleptics. They're the old antipsychotics like clozapine and haloperidol, largactil. Now, obviously, the new line ones, the most common ones are like risperidone, olanzapine, and quetiapine. I'm on a newer one, and it seems to work fine. It has fewer side effects. It's just expensive as heck, but hey, it works. But as I said in a previous video, people generally get off the medications because the side effects are just too much, and I can attest to that. But I also know that they're better for me. Now, schizophrenia occurs in males and females equally, but generally males it shows at an earlier age. I started showing signs very early in my life, but actual psychosis at age 16. So it, of course, affects social skills. As I said, we have autism, so it does affect our social skills. There is a prodromal phase before the actual onset of the psychosis, and yeah, that's where your irritability. You may seem like you're talking to somebody, but you're from a different planet. No one can understand what you're saying. And a lot of people seem to with schizophrenia tend to be very clumsy. I know for myself, I am a bit clumsy. Give me a hockey stick, I can shoot, but throw me a baseball, I can't catch. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's a positive correlation between drug use and schizophrenia, and many people with schizophrenia smoke either cannabis or nicotine. So there is no correlation to whether schizophrenia is caused by any kind of childhood trauma, and yeah, at the time they did think that it had to do with the parents potentially not giving enough attention to the child, but that probably they don't believe that happens. There is a positive. They do believe that twin studies, one twin is more likely to develop schizophrenia than the other, than if they weren't a twin. 50% more likely, actually. And there is a lot of controversy surrounding schizophrenia, naturally, because a lot of the time we are incarcerated for doing something. Take for example, the Greyhound guy. I don't know I forget what his new name is, but he was actually denied access to medication, and he actually caused he actually killed somebody, believing they were trying to kill him, and it was because he was dying. He has to unfortunately live with that trauma for the rest of his life and all that. I think I'm just going to end this video here. I'm so sorry it's a long video, and I'm sorry I've been away from YouTube for a while. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, happy World Schizophrenia Day.